Is pretty much loose. We're just going to, it's very loose actually. Here we have it. One big XJ-S front caliper. Welcome back to Living with a Classic. I'm here with the 1975 XJ-S, and today we're finally going to start some real work on this car. It's January now, and I have a goal to drive this thing sometime during the summer. We'll see if that's possible or not, but still a goal, but it won't be possible if we don't start. So today we're going to start with the front brakes. It's a good place to start. I mean, you can start anywhere on this car, but they're pretty straightforward. It's a pretty fast thing to do. It's not very expensive with parts and all of that. And also, it looks nice. So then you can have a look at those brakes. When you need some inspiration and you're working on something else, you can see, well, I've done a good job on these brakes. You know, let me work on something that is more difficult or more boring. This whole project is proudly sponsored by Simply Performance. I'm really grateful that they're a sponsor for this project, because they're the perfect sponsor for this. They have a lot of cool upgrade parts for the XJ-S, a lot of used parts as well. They break these cars and a lot of other cars. And today I'm going to use some parts from them as well. We might not get to mount them up today. We'll see how far we get. But they have sent over some really cool EBC brakes, and we'll have a look at those in a little bit. But now let us have a look at what the front brakes look like today. So here we are down at the brakes, and we looked at them before, and they are like, it really seems like they're brand new when this car was restored and it's just been sitting. So discs are rusted. I'm just going to replace them with the upgraded EBC parts. But I'm going to save them because if you just skim those, they can be used on any of my other cars, which pretty much all use the same brakes. Calipers look to be in good condition. I think we can just take them apart, strip them, put new seals in. Hopefully the pistons are okay, otherwise we've got to replace those. And then we've made a decision. I mean, I've done a lot of talks with Simply Performance, because they're the main sponsor. You know, they of course want to help me out, but I want to help them out as well. So what we're going to do is the car will go back on the road in pretty stock form at first, except for the brakes. And then, because all the suspension components and all that were brand new when this thing was put away, it's all pretty okay. I haven't felt any play anywhere when I've looked around. So we're just going to clean things up, put it back, and then we can upgrade down the road, because it's a lot more fun, because then we can feel what it feels like stock versus what it feels like with upgraded parts and adjustable suspension, all of that. But now let's start by getting the caliper off, a few other things, we'll get the wheel bearing off and have a look at everything. Removing the caliper is pretty straightforward. There is two bolts here in the back, and they are held in place, or should be held in place with a safety cable. They're drilled through the bolts, and there's a cable there, so you just cut that, and then you gotta replace that when you put it all back. Can be a little bit fiddly to get it all apart, but we're gonna see if we're gonna do that. Then, of course, there's a brake line. You see some wetness there. That's just me putting some penetrative fluid on it, even though everything looks brand new. Just make it easier to get it apart, because I don't want to have to replace any brake lines if I don't want to. I'm going to replace the flexible soft lines, of course, but they're the ones I'm going to try and keep as they are. I'll get the rest of this off. See, here is part of it. Get the rest of it off, and then find the correct socket for this. Got a 3/4 socket here. And I'm not going to remove it completely, but I'm just going to see if I can get it loosened up at least. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's see. That's a little tighter, that one. Okay, they're coming loose at least. So those are pretty loose now, but I want to remove the brake line first. And I have some flare wrenches here and some open ones as well. One thing that's really good to know that I think it was sometime early in the Series 2 XJ6 and XJ12 production, so they have early and the late cars. They're so I mean 74-ish, somewhere around there. Can't believe if it's exactly, but brake lines were changed to being metric, not imperial. So that's a good thing to know. Let's see if we can get the gear correct down there. And I believe that's 13. Okay. Okay, that came off really nice and easily. And I do have some cardboard under here to save floor. If I wasn't doing the whole brake system, I put a clamp on here to not lose too much brake fluid. But the brake fluid that's in the master cylinder is absolutely terrible looking. So I don't mind if we drain basically the whole system, because we'll probably be rebuilding or replacing the master cylinder anyways. Okay, and my idea was to get this into this Coke bottle somehow, and have that just sit over there. And that should be good. Now we can continue removing the caliper. It's the top bolt out. I wasn't able to get the wire out completely, but you can just sort of push it to the side and still get a socket on there. But it looks to be in very, very good condition. And thankfully someone put anti-seize on it when they put this together, so that's very promising that someone actually did this properly. And you may be watching this and maybe you don't have an XJ-S, but you have another old Jag like an XJ. And yes, you are correct. This is pretty much the exact same front suspension. So brakes and everything is exactly the same. And this bottom one is a little bit longer. Got anti-seize on it as well. Now the caliper is pretty much loose. We're just going to, it's very loose actually. Here we have it. One big XJ-S front caliper. And I mean, it looks pretty much brand new. Before I remove this, I just want to feel what the bearing feels like. And it feels really good. Nice and smooth. Absolutely no play in that whatsoever. So hopefully it's in very good shape inside. You can just take it apart and grease it. This dust cap here, you can just use one of your hitting screwdrivers, which is just one of your most worn screwdrivers, and tap around the edges gently and get it off. Go. And this is full of really nice and clean grease. I mean, this car has not been on the road since it was rebuilt, and it really shows. So let me see, and get some pliers. I didn't bring those for that. Get some pliers to get that pin out, or yeah, I need some pliers for that, or maybe not. And then get a socket for that castle nut in there. Let's see if we can get this out of here. And one thing, always replace these. You don't want to reuse them. They're so cheap, and it's one of those things that fails, well, you're really screwed. Okay. We're going to take it out pull this all the way, and then there we go. Put that down. And there is that. Here is the bearing. Looking extremely clean. But we'll have to clean it, of course, and examine it. But just looking right now, see no grooves and no pits, anything like that on it. We'll check the race as well. But have a look here. That is in really, really good shape, that stub axle. I can't see anything wrong with that, but bring you guys in for a closer look. So this is in really, really good shape. No pitting, nothing like that. I think it was pretty much brand new. Again, like everything else. So what I will do here is I'll put grease back on it and just put some plastic on it until reassembly. I mean, you're going to grease it when I reassemble it as well, but just so that no moisture can get in. This is a workshop anyways, even though I try to keep it free of moisture as I can, just so nothing starts rusting on here. And the rest of it, I mean, looking in here, that ball joint is new. And I'm trying to feel under here. Yeah, it's definitely replace this ball joint because it does not have a grease fitting. And that is really good shape as well. Anti-roll bar bushings, I think we'll replace those. They do look sort of dry. So we'll probably replace those down there. Yeah, everything else looks really good. But now is that sort of big decision. I mean, we're not doing a nut and bolt restoration here. We're gonna make a nice car, a nice driver. But we'll paint some of this, I think. Probably paint most of it in situ for now. And then when I do things to the front suspension in the future, I will take it apart and probably paint it properly. I think we'll do sort of just a rattle can rebuild for now, just to protect it and have it look nicer. So I'll attack all of this with some steel brushes, and then we'll put some rust converter on it in certain places. I mean, these things can't really rust through or anything, but these tend to rust away, those shields. And then paint it all up, make it look nice. At least I think so. We'll start with cleaning it up. I mean, this I will paint, of course, but we'll try and decide about the rest of it. But I probably will. And as we know, the steering rack needs to be rebuilt, so that will be coming out later as well. Get a rebuild kit for that. But so far, really good news. But let's go over to the bench and take apart the rest of the things that we took off. All right, let's continue taking this apart. So I want to separate the disc from the hub. And let's just remove the bearing. I think we'll have a look at that a little bit later. Okay. And here as well. I mean, it all looks extremely good in here. So to separate that, it's just these big bolts here, but they can be stuck on pretty tight. So I'm going to clamp this down in my vise and hopefully we can get it off. Let's see how stuck these are. Okay, not too bad. Alright, it should be loose now, like it was. There is the hub. Put that to the side. And here is a standard disc. That's just been sitting out and has sadly rusted, but we'll keep that. I'll replace it. Maybe I'll just keep this for something else because it can be skimmed. You can always measure it, but it looks and feels brand new. So I think with the hub, because we're putting some new stuff on, I'll probably just want to paint this. We'll remove the other bearing as well, and I'll clean them out, but I mean, everything looks brand new, so I don't think it's gonna be anything bad there. But then we'll repack everything and put it back together. But I think the back part here, we'll paint some of that. And this surface should not be painted, nor that. But the back here, that could look pretty nice. Put that to the side. Put this to the side, and let's attack the caliper. But I think before we do that, should we open the new box with the EBC brakes and just see the difference between that one and what's going in there? I think that'll be fun. This should be a front brake in here, and because they have some trick things on them, they are handed. So this is the right one, and yeah, the other one of course is the left one. Normally that's not the case with brakes, but we'll open it up and I'll show you guys why. It's because they have grooves in them and they go one way only. So not only do those grooves look cool, but just I'm reading on the website, and it should help to disperse the brake dust and a little bit of heat as well. Of course, they're still ventilated like the other ones, but looking at that looks really cool. Do have some instructions to read as well. Alright, that's what I was wondering. Sorry, I had to read there a bit because I want to know if this is a coating that needs to be removed. It does not. If you get EBC brakes that don't have this coating, that are just silver discs, you should remove the coating normally like you do with brake clean, but you should not remove the black coating. So they're pretty much good to go, but we're not going to mount those right now. Can clean up parts and things, but I thought it was just fun to have a look at them. So we'll continue now by taking the caliper apart. I think we'll take at least one piston out just to see what it looks like, because I haven't ordered up any parts yet. I haven't ordered the seal kit because I want to know if this thing is completely seized or not, and if I need another caliper or if I need pistons as well. I've only found one weird thing so far. As you know, there should be little pins here to lock these in, and they're not supposed to look like this. So that's something homemade. Only sort of homemade thing I've seen so far. But we'll order up some new ones, and we'll probably get some new pins. I mean, technically you could sand those down and probably reuse them, but if I remember correctly, they are quite cheap, so we'll get some new ones. And that was the second one. So yeah, definitely pretty corroded, and I like to put anti-seize on these so that the pads can slide nicely and also they don't corrode then. And we got some normal brake pads here, and they're pretty much brand new. I think we're going to save these as well because they can definitely go into like my daily driver or something if I need new brake pads there. Or you never know if something can happen. So it's good to keep a spare set, I think, at home. It's because, you know, sometimes they can separate here, and then if you're unlucky, like that could happen, and it's a Sunday and you gotta get to work, got a set of brake pads at home. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm seeing here because this is really good news. This definitely looks like stainless steel pistons. That is just really, really fantastic. Okay, these calipers are in much, much better shape than I thought they were. Let's just, for fun, let's just see how easily they push in. But I'm almost wondering, I mean, yeah, rebuild kits are really cheap. Yeah, we'll rebuild them anyways, but I mean, I think they'd work the way they are. Okay, that pushed really, really easily in. And we got some brake fluid out there. So, yeah, these are in much, much better shape than I could have ever imagined. So I'm actually going to have to think about that because, I mean, they're all sliding nicely. They all seem to work. I think I'm going to have to... I'm going to think about if we're going to take apart and rebuild them. I think I most likely am, but it almost seems a waste. But really, really good news all around. That's it for today's video. I think we got pretty far. Got the brakes off there. I'll remove the other side off camera, do some cleaning and painting, and then when we're back, we'll put the new discs on and everything back together, grease up the bearings, set everything. And then that part of the front end is pretty much done. And I think I'm actually going to say the front end is pretty much done except for the steering rack, which I'll do later. I did do one thing now off camera. I tried and all 4 pistons move really easily and it looks pretty much brand new. I mean, I haven't seen a caliper that looks that good. So I made a decision. I'm going to use it as is. Also, when I push the pistons in, the brake fluid that came out, it was perfectly clear. It looked like it would just pour it in there. So yeah, they're in good shape. There's a lot of other things to restore on this car. So if I can save some time by not rebuilding one thing, I think that's good in the end. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.